Is it legal to sell an email list? In general, it can be, so let me qualify that answer a little bit better. First off, though, let me state I am not a licensed or practicing attorney, and I'm not dispensing legal advice, just general advice. So there's two types of laws you're going to have to consider here. One is civil matters, and the other one is criminal. And there's basically two ways that you're going to come upon an email list you may be interested in selling. The first way is you may purchase that list from somebody else, and you decide to resell it. Maybe you've added some more information to it, and you think it's more valuable, and you want to go out and sell that list. Well, that's going to be not a criminal matter. However, it is a civil matter because typically that person or business that sold you the list is going to have copyright claim on that list. So if you want to go around and sell that list, when you're buying it from them, you need to negotiate with them that you have permission to resell that list in the future. So that's something that when you're negotiating pricing and purchase, you can have that conversation. Most data brokers and list providers are fairly used to fielding that question. It's not completely out of the blue for them. And in my experience, I found some are very receptive. They don't really care, and they'll give you permission, no problem. And for other ones, there's no way they're going to give you permission. Okay, so the other way you could acquire a list that you might be interested in selling is if you developed it yourself. So maybe you've developed a email list through the years from people buying stuff on your website, and you think that might be very valuable to other people who are trying to market to people like your customers. So whether that's illegal or not, we now get into criminal space here, because if you have not gotten the permission of people to sell their contact information, that can be a criminal matter. So where do you get permission from them to do that? All right, you know that terms and conditions, that little box on every website that we just click and don't read? And just about every website and web service out there, somewhere in there it says you are giving the company permission to sell your contact information. So that's why there's so much contact information floating around these days. Most people just blindly click on the terms and conditions, not realizing they've just given permission for their contact information to be sold and bartered. All right? So if you're going to sell an email list that you've developed, make sure you specify it in your terms and conditions that the users of your site are giving you permission to sell their contact information. Does that make sense? Great. And again, consult an attorney, and these laws are constantly changing, so be apprised of them. The U.S. federal government tends to stay out of it, but every U.S. state is now paying attention to this and creating their own laws and regulations. Oh, and one more last caveat. If you're going to do business in the EU, that little terms and conditions trick doesn't work. You're going to have to get each individual user on your website to specifically say that they gave you permission to sell their contact information. So if you're in the EU, you'll start to see websites there say not only terms and conditions, but everything else, all the other permissions. Permission to use cookies, permission to sell your user information. All those people are going to have to opt in with a checkbox. So that's something that's going on in the EU. Hasn't been happening here in the United States yet.